if you're making approach in beach, it's slow and you're going to roll it in. Well, if you do that in indoor volleyball, you're done. So but there's definitely some good things. I encourage it. I love when my kids play beach in the summertime, and we have a beach program now, and I think it's good for them. It helps them footwork, but anytime you're touching a ball, it's good, but it's definitely a different type of game.
And welcome to this edition of the 941 Sports Zone. I am John Massoni with two very special guests here tonight. Over to the far left in the John Peacock chair is John Reynolds with SNN Sports, the sports director at SNN. And we thank John for coming in. But I think you must like it because you're here. This is 3 times now. I think we're getting maybe we're reeling you in. Maybe you want to become correspondence, or
who knows?
Maybe we can get John to go coach football for a while. You come in, see what happens with that. But again, thanks for being here, John. And our guest here in the middle, Brian Wheatley, Hall of Fame VHS volleyball head coach. We're going to go over all your accolades and all your things you've done in the past, but we're actually going to try to talk a lot about what's coming up in 2023. I know you're excited about this year's volleyball season and your schedule and your team, so we'll get into that as well.
Perfect. Truth be told.
There you go. But Brian, again, we'll be here a little bit. We're going to recap a little bit of last week. I know, John, you watched the show. We had a really interesting conversation with Coach Scotty Littles from Brooker High School, the head football coach there. I came away from this situation. I always like to see how a coach presents himself, not only to his program, but to the general public. And his enthusiasm for his program, as he spoke about it, his real depth of care about what he was doing, man, it's shown through in that interview. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, I told you before, it's probably my favorite episode you guys have done so far. Coach Littles is one of those people that's he's not a fabricated person. He's not manufactured. No. He's 100% truth to who he is. And he has a lot of passion, as you mentioned, for Booker. And they're trending in the right direction, I believe. And from any level of sports and any walk of life, authenticity is key, at least for me, talking to somebody, or even from an interview perspective, or just getting to know somebody. So he's as authentic as they come from my interactions with him, and last week's episode was fantastic.
His energy, talking about his time in Virginia, playing, coaching, and then everything else, it came through. And I think like he made mention about how kids, they know what's going on. They see the social media stuff, they see everything, and they kind of really know what's out there. So we really can't BS them too much. They're going to figure it out if you're real or not in a very short window. And I think that he comes across very genuine. And you're right, trending up as far as the program's concerned. I did like his Soda Dame hashtag that they've got going, because it's something that you earned it. We're going to be a little different. We're going to look this way. We're going to sort of model ourselves after something that matters to a lot of people and has shown success in what they've done.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool, obviously, hearing the background of the story even further. Obviously, he cares about the kids on his team, wants them to perform well on the field, but it's also his passion for them to be, upstanding people in their community, and educationally is really something to be sought after in terms of coaches or just, generally day-to-day.
Brian, so you can recognize, so Scotty Little's been there for 2 years.
Yes.
You've been at Venice for 30?
This is year 30.
Yeah, so 30 years. So can you remember back when it was the second year or the third year and you were building that culture that you wanted to do? A lot of that stuff I guess even then you had to convince your athletes that you were here and you were serious and you had the program going in the right direction early.
Yeah, I know who Scotty is, and I'm a sports guy, so I know I coach volleyball, but I know all the different sports that are going on in the area, and I've watched him build, and I've read some things that he writes, and right now he's in the stage of building those pillars for his program, because you got to have that strong foundation of whatever you're doing, and your kids and the parents of your kids and your community has to believe in that. So he's in a crucial stage of, is his program going to take off, or is it going to sour out? So he's fighting for his program. I respect it. I enjoy watching it all, and but we've been there. Yeah. So I know he's going through, and it's pretty cool to see what he's doing.
Yeah, no, and like I said, his enthusiasm, you can see he's got everything kind of going the right way. Just a matter of hopefully, like I said, he gets a good schedule, and he gets some. It's always going to be a big win, one of those wins that kind of maybe is a turning point, and probably sometime this year we'll look at one and go, that might be the one where he really gets it going.
And so he came all the way down here to Venice to do this?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He liked it. Listen, he was enthusiastic the minute he got here, man.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that show.
Yeah, no, it's a good one for sure. And of course, you got 2 football
and
coaches.
John was here too.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed it. Actually,
and it was fun because John was like, you could, like I said, they were doing their football coach thing, obviously.
Sure.
That not going to give a little ground. That John had said before we started that Scotty said, yeah, next year Venice comes to Booker and plays, and John was like, well, we're gonna see about that, So he wasn't giving that up,
Yeah.
But Scotty knows like that would be, for his program. Getting Venice up there, the gate would be fantastic. He's an AD too, so he's looking at it from 2 perspectives. So making sure he's getting that gate revenue there. The fans are enthusiastic, and then of course putting a winning program on the field.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, with that. So anyway, thanks to Scotty, and hopefully we'll keep an eye on him all year. As of usually made our predictions last week, John and Scotty went back and predicted for each other. So we can't really just say. So Scotty said that John was going to be 9-1. And
who does he have him losing to?
He didn't say.
Oh.
He did not say, but he said 9-1.
What did John say?
John said, all right. He said, but getting to the state championship again.
Yeah.
So he didn't say how far, whatever. And then John said Booker would be 8-2.
Really?
And he said regional championships.
Wow.
For them. So he's got them. So they both, they were fair with each other. No doubt about it. My prediction was that Florida was going to win the national championship in baseball. Now, as we sit right now on Monday night, we're doing our taping here for the show. It is down to what's 1-1 with the game tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about this potential pitching matchup that may be coming or not coming or whatever's going to happen. And coming off of a game last night, which was unbelievable, 24-4, which is a record for runs scored in a College World Series game. It was. They were talking about extra points and stuff like that yesterday, trying to keep everybody involved with the game. But nonetheless, I think that clearly these 2 teams have been there. Not each team, but the programs have. So they know what they kind of know what it takes. LSU has a vast amount of talent, maybe underrated amount of talent, because they've got the top 2 players maybe in the country. Florida's got the other top 2 players in the country, so or thereabouts. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they play out tonight. I guess you can't ask for better drama than you're going to get tonight. Hopefully the game plays out the way it ends up being. So my prediction is still on the fence there a little bit. So we'll see that. However, though, another prediction was made a few weeks earlier when the Peacock brothers were on set together. And
there was Frank here?
Yes, we did.
Wow.
So now I haven't gone back and looked at the tape because I was talking to those guys, but both of them made a similar prediction regarding Michael Robertson and a catch, a diving catch or some sort of a game-winning catch. And lo and behold, I was on the radio, listening on the radio that day, and he smashes in the fence and holds on that ball and probably made the catch of the year out to that point, as far as for the Gators at least, and then maybe in the World Series as well, to advance them into the finals. So they're both right, in my opinion. So they can share the accolades or fight it out over dinner somewhere or whatever else it is. But they both predicted a catch from Michael Robertson. So we'll see how we do with our predictions tonight as well. With that, we're going to tack over and start talking to Coach Brian Wheatley. Brian's at 30 years at Venice High School, and I've written a few things down, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. 27 district championships in 30 years. That's correct?
29 years.
29 years. Okay, so 29. All right.
We've blown it twice.
But really, 21 in a row. That's something that I know you kind of put that out there. You printed shirts and you've done other things about that. Tell me how that motivates you, the players, and is that one of the ones is that something that obviously you're always striving for state championships, but that's the first step.
Yeah, it's as far as why I tell my kids every year, why do we want these banners on the wall during the process to the state championship? It's not to get our banner on the wall. It's because we want the best advantage we can get in getting to the state championship, and when you win a district, you get to host.
Right.
So that's the whole reason why we want to win. Like, it's not for anything else. It's just to have what's the best advantage we can get to be able to win a state title.
Right. And John, so Brock said this, if you look down this Brian's program is, phenomenal.
Really, if you want to hear something kind of funny, so it's been 21 years in a row. So in 2001, I've always told the kids, listen, if you don't win a district championship, we're having the banquet on Wednesday for Wacky Wednesday pizza in the cafeteria. And in 2001, we got upset in the semifinals. So since then, since we had a banquet on Wednesday in the old cafeteria, and we had Wacky Wednesday pizza come in, and since then we haven't lost. so
that was it.
It's kind of an inside joke with all the coaches because we don't know what we're going to do if we don't win one.
Right. No, the banquet is always harder when you don't reach your goals because as a coach, you're disappointed, but you can't be disappointed because the kids are, you love them. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
you want to make sure the parents are happy. Yeah, we got a crazy fly over here. We got to see if we can.
What's called Truly Nolan.
Hey,
I think he's attracted to the gel in your hair, John.
It might be. Well, I actually I rushed here tonight. I had one of those family obligations I had to get to, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, who knows? I don't even know what I looked in the mirror for about 5 seconds. So it's up to them to edit me out if they have to. They can fix it for me. But anyway, again, the districts are obviously, like I said, you said a stepping stone. But again, 14 regional championships and 13 Final Fours. Pretty good stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's Final Fours are a big deal.
Yeah, Final Four in any sport's pretty impressive. To have that many appearances, that many wins, something to see. And I come from Kentucky, so I understand some collegiate programs. Western Kentucky and Kentucky have good programs, but high school volleyball isn't as big where I'm from. Has it always been a phenomenon for high school volleyball in this state?
You actually have in Louisville is some of the biggest volleyball in the country.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, with Assumption High School, Sacred Heart, talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Ron Cordes there at Assumption, who's won like 10 national championships. Wow. They produce awesome club players. Louisville volleyball, I think maybe they lost in the national title game last year. So there's a big section of Kentucky that I'm very aware of.
Now, has Florida always been high-profile volleyball in terms of high school, other than you guys? Of course, obviously you're winning a lot, but in terms of the state, has it always been?
Yeah, there's some really good areas of. Man, that fly is killing me.
This is gonna be fun with this fly. If we may have to.
It's Flygate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Florida's had some really good players. University of Florida's got a great program. Florida State's got a program. Miami. So there's some really good volleyball in our part of the country.
The more you know, I'm learning every day.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Also, again, 2018 FHSAA Hall of Fame inductee as well. I mean, and you're a young guy. Isn't Hall of Fame usually you know what I mean? Hall of Fame guys usually they're coming in and getting pushed in a wheelchair sometimes. You definitely but obviously you're building on your resume every year too. So that's another feather in your cap too, because that's going on so many years ago and a few state championships since then. I think at least one. I know that from last year because we celebrated that one in the big parade back in the spring.
Yes,
but no, again, so again, all those different things that I know you're looking forward to this year, 2023 coming up. Can you give us a little outlook on as far as schedule, goals, obviously, and players that we have to look at after?
Yeah, I mean, there's so we've won 6, but we've never gone back to back.
Okay.
So there's a lot of books written on how to be successful in life and business and relationships. There's not a lot of books written on how to stay successful. So it's something that we're trying to figure out because we haven't figured it out yet.
Right.
And so I know our kids this year, that's one of their goals is to be the first team to go back to back in our program. So, I've been listening to a lot of Kirby Smart stuff from Georgia, and just so I'm kind of stealing some things that he's done, some motivational things. One thing I've stole from him is, this year Georgia, they were the hunters.
Right.
They knew they were being hunted, but what does a hunter do? They hunt. It's a different mindset. So we know we always have a X on our back. We know that everybody we play circles our game. This is a game that we're going to get their best shot no matter what. But this year, we're just making sure that our kids know that we're going to give our best shot every single time. And really our biggest opponent is ourselves. And I tell our kids, if we can just get our biggest opponent, which is ourselves, on our own team, we're pretty dang good.
Yeah.
So that's just something I've stolen from the Georgia program, and we're going to see how it goes. And we're gonna hunt this year. And
I got to imagine, girls coming back from last year's championship team, to do something nobody else has done in a storied program would be really a way to sort of put their mark on things. Say, hey, look what we just did, which is a back-to-back championship.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, like, we're not going to have a chance to do that in August, September, October. We're going to have a chance to do that in sometime in November. So that's so far off.
Mm-hmm.
We got to deal with what we're looking at today, and that's just what are we doing today on June whatever the date is, June 26th?
Yes.
What did we do this morning? It's all. I'm a process guy, and I'm a big believer that when you go through the right steps, that's when good things are gonna happen. And every year, with high school sports, you go through the same process. That's what I like about high school sports, is you go through the same process every single year. And every year we start the season as we want our kids to be responsible on the court. What does responsible mean? It means giving great effort and being disciplined. Yeah. Period. And once they're responsible to the court, then they become trustworthy. Once they become trustworthy, then they become respected. Once they respect themselves, they start to become successful. And then once you're successful, they become proud of what they're doing, and a proud team is really tough to beat. So if you can go through those steps throughout the year, I hate playing proud teams. Yeah. So
and you'll know it when you see it, I'm sure, right? Because you know when your teams cross that threshold. Yeah. And you see it with other teams, I'm sure.
So we have a really, really long way to go. The 4 stages of varsity players, basically, I'm happy to be here. I want to do this. I like to do this. All I want to do is win. So if we can just get through those stages as fast as possible, some of my better teams, like, all they want to do is win. Coach, I don't care what you do to us. We want to win.
Right.
Where other stages, like, I'm just happy to be here, kind of thing, and so we know. And so we're in the stage of this summer as, they like this, we're kind of moving along. So we're not really to the coach, you can do whatever you want to us yet.
Yeah.
But, that's a process. And that comes through playing a really tough schedule, making practices harder than any match you'll come across, and just, making sure that we're buying into the program and we're having a good time, and that's key. You got to have fun with it, but having fun is working hard, and having being a good teammate. We're real big on, just being great teammates with each other. Knowing your roles. And some people may not like their roles, but if that's your role, I don't only want to just be good in that role. I want to be great in that role.
Right.
And that's when things really start to kick up. And we have an excellent team this year. We only lost a few seniors.
Yes.
So and we've actually picked up a few kids, this summer. So it's playing time is going to be tough, and competition, breeds. It's going to be really fun in practices this year, because the teams we're going to play on the other side of the net in practice is going to be a lot better than a lot of teams we play on the court.
You can line up and put together 2 pretty good squads to go into the practice.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
And just from a novice perspective, not knowing really a whole lot about volleyball, being here 30 years, has the game evolved? I know in other sports you see a lot of changes, whether it be just athletically inclined, how some of these players are. Has it evolved in the 30 years you've been here? Is it from point A to point B? I'm sure there's some differences.
Yeah, so many things have changed. And as a coach, I'm still a student of the game, and I'm still learning. And that's why, I brought up a guy, the Assumption guy, Ron Corus. Like, anytime I have a chance to listen to him or talk to him at a club tournament, like, I'm all ears. Just like basketball, there wasn't a 3-point shooting thing, the game evolves, and there's things that they do now. And so where does it usually start? It usually starts at the Olympics, and it kind of trickles down to the college teams, and then it trickles down to club and high school and all that. So I'm always looking for the next thing and just growing as a coach. And I'm so different today than I was just 15, 16 years ago. I mean, and just a lot different. So
prospectively, I have a question. I was always thought about this. So when our wellness center, as we call it at our school, was opened and fully put together, there was a little bit of rumblings like, oh, this is just for the football team. But the first team I saw working out in that wellness center was the volleyball team, and they were, I mean, I used to roll up there and I'd see them, and they would be outside that door, and they had the heavy ball. They were throwing balls against the wall. I mean, they were all in from the get-go. Was that how you started? Did you embrace that once that wellness center got there?
You know, I think at Venice, you know, I mean, things have changed a little bit, but we haven't always had the best athletes. So we have to do everything we can to compete, just to have a chance to win. And to me, in the early 2000s, you know, we got in the weight room because we wanted to be stronger than everybody. We wanted to be faster than everybody. We wanted to hit the ball harder than everybody. We wanted to jump higher than everybody. You know, you play a team like St. Thomas Aquinas, who has a front row of 6'3", 6'4", all the way across the line, and we're like 5'9" kids. What do you got to do? You got to pull out something, you know. So we kind of became the Oregon of Florida volleyball. Like we lined up, like we were so fast, you know, and so these teams couldn't really keep up with us. But as far as the weight room goes, yeah, we one of the best things we ever did is we have a volleyball class. So our kids work out year round,
right?
And it's been such a huge thing, you know, for teenage girls they get so strong so quick, and they develop so quickly. And when they feel comfortable, you know, in a room with a lot of weights, and they're they can see their muscles growing, they can see them jumping higher. I mean, just the confidence is gigantic.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge factor. Now everybody's basically working out.
Yeah, but you guys are way ahead of the game. I think. I mean, because especially the way you attacked it, you didn't kind of tiptoe into it. You're like, we're doing this. We got this unbelievable facility right here.
Because we had to do that.
Yeah.
We had to do that. And the facility's been awesome. It's one of the, I mean, I have college coaches that come in and say, man, this is a lot better than we have at our school, you know. So our facilities at Venice have just been second to none. And our kids enjoy going in there. It's part of who we are.
Yeah, I agree.
And since I've been here my 2 years, going to a Venice volleyball game is one of the more exciting experiences that I've got to take part in. I mean, you get there, the TP's packed full of people, the student section's right there on the court. I mean, they had to put rails up to keep them, I guess, from flooding out there. And you got Tammy Emmy Mike on the PA, and
Big Mike.
It's just a lot of fun. And
yeah.
What's the secret sauce to that? Obviously, the success you've built over the 30 years, but obviously there's got to be a deep-rooted love for this team and the community as well.
You know, I love to hear you say that. It just it gives me chill bumps, because that's one of the things that we want to do for our kids, is we want to give that kind of environment that they may never see again. Even if they go play in college, they may never see it. And I just think it just makes everything so much more exciting. And so we've had DJs come in, and we do a lot of little games, and we get we give shirts out for Seventh Man and Wheatley's Wackos. And, we want teams coming here fearing of what's going to happen in the teepee, you know. In 2009, we got voted as one of the top 5 places in America to watch a volleyball game. Wow. I love cool stuff like that, you know, and it's part of, I mean, I can't stand going to gyms and there's like nobody in the stands, you know. So I love the fact that, you know, my kids will be at Publix, and, you know, some old person or a young person will ask them for their autograph. You know, it's a community thing, and our community has bought in, and they're a high IQ. This is a high IQ community for volleyball. So they love when we bring in great teams. So when I bring in a team that we're going to spank, it stinks. You know, it's boring. So that's part of me being around for 30 years too. Like, I would rather lose a close, tough match against a really highly ranked opponent than kill somebody. You know, unless it's like a Riverview or something like that. I enjoy
beating the local guy, no doubt about that.
Beating them. So I love that you say that, and I love that's one to me. That's one of the best compliments that we get, is the production that goes into it, and we got some new things coming up this year that are going to be pretty cool as well.
When they shut the lights off and they have the entrance, I mean, they got an entrance video for the volleyball team. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
The environment is always the biggest part of the experience for me and my wife. She played high school volleyball, so me not knowing anything about volleyball is already a step behind in my book. She's already mad enough at me for that. Right. She always would say, high school volleyball games are the most fun thing you could ever go see. I'm like, okay. But then I go to the Venice game, and I'm like, okay, she's right, always right. That's one of the best things I've ever been to.
Yeah, good volleyball it's really fun to watch.
Yeah,
no doubt. With that, we'll take our first break of the night. Come back here and continue our conversation with Coach Brian Wheatley and John Reynolds. Come back a little bit, talk a little bit more about what you're doing this year, a few more things about what you've done again, and we'll go move forward and talk about something you were part of last year, but not this year. The results and the highlights from the Suncoast Snapper Slapper that came out yesterday. So we'll have some of that when we come back here at Douglas Jeep in the 941 Sports Center. See you.
It's the Out of This World sales event at Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram, and we just launched the most stellar deals of the year. It's Jeep season, so blast off in the new Jeep Compass Limited from only $339 per month. Or leave the world behind in the new Jeep Grand Cherokee from $429 per month. It's Ram season, so shoot for the stars in the new Ram 1500 Quad Cab from only $369 per month. Don't miss the Out of This World sales event going on now at Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice. Who has Out of This World savings? Douglas does!
And welcome back to the 941 Sports Zone here at Douglas Jeep. And Monty Jacobs and his staff are always very accommodating for us, do a great job, and can't wait for that new showroom to open up, that indoor 80-car used car showroom down just a few miles north of here where it's going to be. So we'll end up being permanent residents at that particular showroom, so that ought to be fun as well. Nice. So they're doing a bang-up job here, and they're always good to support everything that we kind of do as far as local area things, and I think that they've dived into being big-time community members in the South County area. So thanks to them, as always. So Brian, again, so you talked about your goals, your players. Schedule-wise, anything on particular on the schedule that points? I know Bash at the Beach is always a big thing, but how about the other teams that are coming in that might be on the map?
Yeah, we got some big dogs coming in. We got Berkeley Prep coming in. Okay. First week of the season, we got St. Thomas Aquinas.
It's funny how you go St. Thomas, because you were the first real St. Thomas Aquinas sort of. They bumped into you a lot until football kind of came along and had our issues with them as well. But what that's a program that's. I mean, literally, if St. Thomas
or Plant is not around, I think we probably have about 20 titles.
Because that's been those have been the roadblocks for sure. Then but you've had your fair share of good victories there too. Yeah.
So and the Aquinas coach, I'm good friends with her. She's been there for like 30 something years. So she's coming in the first week. We went there last year.
Okay.
So we beat them for the first time in a long time in their gym. And so I think they're looking for a little payback.
You think so? So there might be some bulletin board stuff about.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a really good one. I believe that's last week in August. We got Miami Westminster Christian, who was in the state title game last year. We got IMG National.
Okay.
Coming in. It's their first year running a program, and they got kids from all over the country, and that's probably going to be, I would say, our biggest competition all year. Like they're the real deal this year. And the coach here has just done a phenomenal job in the last couple months. I'm really gotten to know him well, and so that's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, definitely.
Who else we have? Of course, we have Cardinal Mooney, who's kind of
really been on the up the last couple of years. Yeah,
for sure. They got the Gatorade Player of the Year that went to Texas this past year, so they'll be good. We have the Battle at the Beach, so we have teams from all over the state coming in to play in that tournament. And I think, we call it Battle at the Beach, but it's been canceled by storms probably for the last 9 years. So
we had some,
we kind of call it the Hurricane Classic on the side. So, we have a really fun schedule. We're going to Lake Highland Prep in Orlando. We're going to Trinity Catholic in Ocala. So we're gonna make our rounds, and people say, who's your rival? It's usually the people around the state.
Sure.
Leon from Tallahassee is a big one.
They came down once or twice. Yeah.
We've had some great matches with them, and of course Aquinas and Plant, and Fort Myers used to be a bigger rival. We got Barron Collier coming in. They'll be pretty good. They lost in the state title game last year. Okay. So a lot of good games. A lot of good matches.
And I do like the fact that we've talked about you, Coach Faulkner, Coach Peacock, all the teams, they do. It's good to play a tough schedule. Legitimately, you don't want to lose a bunch of games. Obviously, that's not what you're trying to do. But I know that by mid-season and beyond, then you really have been sharpened up by that schedule.
The game's changed a little bit now with Max Preps ranking.
Yeah.
Baseball kind of got bit with it this year. Craig always plays a tough schedule, but probably was a game away from going to the regionals.
Right.
So you gotta play that. You gotta play that in your head on. Can I afford to lose this team? The key with Max Preps, I think, is you can't lose to a team lower than you. It kills you. But if you play like a solid team, a team that's top 5 in the nation, it's not going to hurt you.
No. Yeah, it keeps you in the rankings because they reward you to go and step up and play a tougher team.
Yeah. But you got to play a tough schedule to prepare your team for mostly the mental capacity to be able to handle the situation. So if we've played a great schedule going into this, like the state championship this year, Haggerty was awesome match, but my kids knew that we've played some really good teams as well.
Right.
So it's not like that was the best team. A lot of times we go in playoffs and we're the best team that team's playing, and you never play well in the state champion when it's that state championship game in your head. Right, so if you just kind of keep a good head about yourself and what you're doing, and and just kind of stay with the process and do your thing, the results usually take care of itself.
Yeah, no doubt. So John, like I said, lots of good ones this year to go see here local. And then, like I said, it's like, again, Brian does a great job of putting that schedule together. Yeah, I always think it's funny though. I've seen it around different programs. You talk to one of his assistant coaches or Peacock's assistant coaches. How's the schedule? If they go, oh, and it's a good schedule. They're never happy about it.
Do you guys do a lot of summer games too? Is that like a lot of things you guys are you practicing more? Is there a lot of scheduled games or?
Yeah, so we have club volleyball. So we travel. Like this year, we went to Dallas and Atlanta and play tournaments all over the state in the spring. In the summertime, we focus it in on our foundation. We go back to the ABCs of volleyball, and so that's where we are right now. We come in every morning at 7 a.m. and we're out of there about 10:45 Monday through Thursday. And so that's what a lot of people don't see. They see the games and how fun they are, but they don't realize that these kids are getting up at 5:30 in the morning in the summertime when all their friends are sleeping in and going to the beach. They're coming in the gym and we're working out and we're doing the things necessary to get ready, and then they probably go home and take a nap because it's exhausting. So it's just a lot of credit to them on, their commitment to the program and wanting to get better. And, I love that kind of stuff. So,
and this may be a silly question too, maybe a little bit of a sidebar.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to interview. This is I'm going to set this up. I talked to the McEnroe brothers once about tennis versus pickleball. Mm-hmm. And I know beach volleyball down here is a big deal too. Is beach volleyball and obviously indoor volleyball, is there like a love-hate relationship there? Do you guys feed off one another? Is going and playing one helpful to the other? Or, I know it's the same game but different surfaces, but what's kind of the yin-yang there?
I would kind of disagree with that, because it's got indoor volleyball, beach volleyball. You think it's the same game. It's totally different. It's like playing baseball and softball. There's two different, types of equipment, and so it's just a different game. So, but do they benefit one another a little bit? But some things they don't benefit them at all. It actually hurts them. If you're making approach in beach, it's slow and you're going to roll it in. Well, if you do that in indoor volleyball, you're done. So but there's definitely some good things. I encourage it. I love when my kids play beach in the summertime, and we have a beach program now, and I think it's good for them. It helps them footwork, and but anytime you're touching a ball, it's good. But it's definitely a different type of game.
Like I said, I didn't know if one benefited the other. From a distance, you may think, beach volleyball, same thing, but it's good to know that there are differences. And
Yeah.
like I said, the McEnroe brothers both hated pickleball, so makes sense.
Yeah, I love pickleball.
Well, they were like, oh, it takes athleticism out of tennis, and I just didn't know if it was the same thing with beach and regular, but that's good to know.
And I think also, like you said, you like I said, they're playing, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
So if there's a way to sort of maybe take yourself away from it for a little bit, and you can do that and still be able to be playing the game,
Right.
It can't help but help
Yeah,
it a little bit.
Doubles, you're touching the ball all the time too. So you're gonna pass, you're gonna set, you're gonna hit it every single time. So
Yeah.
that's got to be some benefits to it as well.
No doubt. With that, we're going to tack over to a little state conversation. Most of what I want to talk about is going to be about a big event that finally got off the ground this weekend after some potential weather issues. There was a lot of trepidation about this time last week about what the weather was going to do for the Suncoast Snapper Slapper. We had Jessica Pacino on here and Trey Burton a few weeks ago to talk about that, the setup on it, and it went off without a hitch over the weekend. The main show obviously was the winning to win the American Red Snapper the catch there, and local guys, the Burton brothers, their boat, they came out ahead in the American Snapper category. Congratulations to them. But there were some unbelievable boats and some unbelievable fish. 32-pound red grouper won that classification. Some mahi. They have a bunch of different categories in the offshore. And but a lot of boats. Everybody seemed real happy, and the weather was great offshore. They said they had very little weather issues out there because it cleared out. And of course, yesterday at the weigh-in, it's always the what's going to happen then kind of moment. And it was a beautiful day. It was hot, but it's June in Florida. It's going to be hot. Everybody expects that, but great success. And I think this will be something that happens year in, year out. Now, last year you won a few categories in the inshore portion of the tournament, and this year you had a few things going on where you couldn't actually make it this year.
Yeah, I think I got a little spooked with the weather.
Yeah,
like a lot of people, but it is such a great idea, and I'm so glad it's doing well,
Yeah.
and it's a great fundraiser, and I think it's good for our community. I mean, we live on the most beautiful part of the United States. We might as well have a fishing tournament.
You think about it, everything is always sort of like the water's right there. I mean, and this is the opportunity. It is a bit complicated, though. I give them a lot of credit. There's a lot of moving parts. You got to make sure that you're not just fishing, but you're following all the rules that the FWC has out there for you.
Sure.
You got to follow the rules of the tournament in particular. And you see some of these boats, and these guys are pros. I mean, there's some boats out there that this is no doubt these guys do this. They're charter fishermen. They do this as not just recreationally, but it's like it's a hobby that goes beyond all that. And then there's some good prize money, and again, they have a great time doing it. You can see when they're coming in, hey, I'm out there for 3 nights, no problem. They're all happy, good to go. They got their matching gear on. They're taking pictures, and really cool event. And I think that it was probably here to stay for a while.
For sure. And last year, I got one of my buddies who's a captain down in Boca Grande, Dave Hutchinson. So he did a great job. He's really the one who, I mean, he knew all the spots.
Yeah.
But
I
you
mean,
don't want to take my advice.
But there's a lot of guys that's what it is. That there's guys who are inshore fishermen that charter that are doing these tournaments because they're like, hey, it's fun. It's, how do I put it? It's like you can go fishing and have a day and like I had a great day, but then you got to do it those 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, you're kind of running around. Maybe you're not as patient certain times. And I know we were we had friends who had a boat, and I was out there, and we're catching fish, but nothing we could measure that was any good. And you get frustrated because you're like, I know they're there. Why isn't that big one hitting? And it's just kind of how things are. Sometimes you don't have the right bait that day, or the tide's going out, or not coming in, or whatever it may be, and you're trying to kind of condense it down to fish in those little windows where you can. So, but again, it was a great time, and like I said, real success. And I know everybody that was involved. Super amount of volunteers. I mean, you're on that where they're weighing everything. So you got guys who are docking the boats, guys who are just doing the weigh-in. You got somebody they got people running to the scoreboard to make sure they're updating things as they go. You've got a whole plethora of different people moving around So there's a lot going there, a lot of moving pieces, and to get it off without a hitch like that is
and that's a tribute
applauded.
to Jess Placina.
Yes.
I mean, she really does a great job with that, and she's energetic and just gets a lot of people involved. And
admittedly, the last 2 years, now I think she's more comfortable. Not quite sure sometimes when the first problem that comes up, this is like, oh, now what do we do?
Right.
Weather being obviously a big one in that situation, but honestly, in that situation, you're really at the mercy of a bigger being in that situation. All you can do is prepare like it's going to be great weather and great everything else, and hopefully it works out for the best. But and of course the window for the snapper is only 6 weeks. Or 6 or 8 weeks.
Sure, right.
And you don't know, and they don't even know when that's going to be until about May, and when they can actually have it.
And is that because they're just in the area for a certain amount of weeks, or is you're only allowed to fish them for that amount of weeks? Is there science behind that?
Yeah,
it's just an FWC thing. I'm not really sure.
I think they're protected. I mean, things get fished out over time. I mean, back in the day, everybody could catch Goliath grouper, and they have like, I got a 400-pound grouper. This is great, and they were fishing them out. So I think a lot of times it's just a matter of protecting the species, and because it's delicious eating fish. Yeah. All those guys that caught those snappers, they were all happy because they're gonna have a great meal for a couple
of weeks.
Yeah, they were all happy about that. So I think it's a little bit of for the protection of that kind of thing. And so you want to make sure you're getting nothing too small, nothing too big. Have that fit a criteria and in some of the categories as well.
And I know it's got to be a fight catching some of those because Monty was sending me pictures, and I'm like, that's Photoshop. There's no way that thing's that big. And what did he say? Clay's was 26 pounds or bigger.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
they ended up having a combined weight of over 40 pounds for their two snappers that they counted in their weigh-in. But yeah, you look at everything, and they're catching because they know they got to catch more than the snapper too because there's other things going on. So they're dropping lines to do this. Somebody's fishing for mahi, somebody's fishing for tuna. So they're doing all the different stuff. So there's a lot of, again, you're out there for 2 or 3 days depending on how hardy you are as a fisherman, and you go out there and it's work. I think they said they came off their boat and they think they averaged about 3 hours of sleep for them each person. That's all they got for the whole time they were out there.
Wow.
So they're definitely hustling it up.
Trey ran in and took a flight to Africa right away.
Right. He's out the door.
So
and John Peacock was on the boat too. And he had to run up and do it.
That was probably a disadvantage.
Well, he was supposedly the chef, and I don't know what happened with all that. I heard some good things. I've heard some other things. But he had to run because that's why he's not here. He's doing a speaking engagement for coaching clinic in Daytona, doing that. So he's doing that. So yeah, John was off the boat and in a car going to Daytona. So, but I give him credit for doing it for sure. Another thing also, we've been in our state segment, we've been talked a little about the Rays every time. Right now, as of today, 54-27 record, 4.5 game lead over the Baltimore Orioles in the best division by far in baseball at this point. I think nobody's under 500 in the division as well.
What's the Braves are maybe 2 games behind them now?
Yeah, they're in the National League. Yeah, so overall. Overall. But but the Rays are just. I mean, again, they've overcome a few things. I think they're on course to a 100-win season. I think this. I mean, they're at the halfway point, and I think that they are looking like a team that knows how to win games that sometimes a team doesn't know how to win those games. I think they've sort of figured it out, and I don't think they rely on one person. They have a superstar. They have a few superstars on that team, I would tell you, between Rosarina and Franco, and I think that they are definitely guys that they look to, but they're not the guys who make every winning play for them. They're just the catalyst in a lot of cases.
Well, and lately they've had a few hiccups. I mean, they dropped 2 of 4 to Oakland, which is the worst team in baseball. They have fans not showing up or showing up because they don't want to show up.
Show up to protest.
Yeah, and then they struggle against San Diego on the road, which obviously going out west is tough. And then recently struggling with the Royals, so going 6 of 7 in their last 13, and they're still 4.5 ahead of the Orioles, who they also played in the last 13 games. So I think, their pitching has been solid. McClanahan got pulled out of the game the other night. I haven't got an update or anything if he's still okay.
I've heard he is they're just going to push his next start back a little bit. They think it's just a rest situation for him.
He's been clicking on all cylinders, and then Glass now has came back from the IL and pitched decent. Bradley has been great as a rookie. He's pitched well. Franco was pulled the other day, and they benched him because he was almost too emotional, I guess. Cash was kind of explaining it. So there's been ups and downs, and they went through a lull this last 2 weeks, I guess you would say, but to still be ahead in the division and still the Yankees looking behind them. So
it's amazing what that program does with the salary.
Kidding. Yeah,
I mean it's unbelievable. Like every year, like they're in the hunt. So
yeah, and it's
impressive.
They've put together a formula, and I think the some of the things that they've done that you get a little like weirded out when they get rid of somebody in midseason. You're like, what are they doing that for? They collect players, and now the ones that are sort of shining through, they're here, and they've sort of managed themselves, and they're not just a good team. They got their depth wise, they might be the deepest team in Major League Baseball, and they don't have the salary that you would think, or the numbers that would
right.
put that out there.
And in your opinion, do you think they'll add, or you think they'll just kind of stay with deadline coming up? Do you think they'll just stay with what they have? They may make a few minor moves, and those minor moves may be guys that are impact players. But do you think they make a splash?
So here's I think that they have come. They have knocked on the door a little bit to try to be that World Series championship. I don't think that their ownership group makes any move without it being they already know what they're going to do in advance. I think that they look at the team right now at 54-27, and they say, this might be this might be the one move we need to make. Do they go out and get a big name guy off a team? I don't know how big of a name. I know that it could be somebody, but I think they do make a move from an addition, not a subtraction move. Or I think it's going to be something that might be the one piece. It could be a closer. It could be somebody that that's a no doubt guy that they're going to add, and I think that's going to be I think they're going to feel like they're going to get it. I also think it's part of that is that they are culminating a deal, I think, at some point in time for the stadium deal. Right. And how much more momentum can you get than being that team?
And I think, too, Yandy Diaz, Arozarena, probably going to be on the all-star team, if not starting the game. McClanahan, if he's able to start, will probably start the game. So I think having those three guys being heavily involved during the Midsummer Classic at the all-star game is going to be big for the franchise, too, because when – obviously, you see that they're producing, and those trying to invest in a new stadium are going to be like, okay, this team is 4.5 games up. They're playing well, and they're not spending a whole lot of money to play this well. So that's all got to be check marks for people that would want to invest.
Right. I totally agree. And I think what's going to happen is I think as the season progresses and they maintain what they're doing, I think the fan base is finally going to react accordingly. I think you're going to see summer baseball where the Rays are going to get better than average crowds for them in particular, and when they get these really good series come through here, I think it's not going to be Yankee fans or Red Sox fans packing the place. I think it's going to be Rays fans watching them play, Houston, Texas, where those teams are coming in realizing it's a great series and they're going to come and see them.
I just hope whatever they do, if they do build a new stadium, I know you guys have mentioned it a lot. I hope it stays air conditioning inside.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Do you like the Trop? Do you like going to games?
I don't.
No, you don't like it?
No, I'm an outdoor guy.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like it's fake. We've been hearing about these new stadiums for how long?
Yes.
Going to Tampa, doing this on the water. Like, I grew up in the Bay Area, so I'm a Giants A's guy, and Candlestick Park. I just love being on the outside. I know it's hot, so maybe like one of those, I can open it or I can close it kind of deal might be kind of cool. But
I don't think I'll tell you right now, if you're going to build a stadium, you've got to consider. You can't limp into this. Now I could see a smaller ballpark, because I think baseball is moving towards that smaller ballpark.
30,000.
Yeah. I think it'd be a great atmosphere, but do it right. I've been in Arizona when they had this, they turned the air conditioning on low, and they could, because it was dry air, they could open the thing up and it would be just like you're outdoors, and it's like air conditioned. It's weird how they can do that. But the consideration has to be for getting the most people in there, no matter what the time of the year, the time of the day, whatever it may be. And I think if whoever commits to it or whatever's committed to the process, they've got to consider all of that, because if they don't, they're just going to kind of be in the same situation they are now, which is sort of stuck with a mid-range ballpark that people can either take it or leave it, depending on Brian's opinion or your opinion. They got to have it where they can appeal to everybody. Brian gets his game outside, but maybe it's when it's a beautiful day and they retract the roof and a thunderstorm's coming, and you close that thing up and you can do something that accommodates the fans for that.
And I love outdoor games too. I'm a big St. Louis Cardinals fan, so going and watching and seeing the arch in the background, or even PNC being just beautiful landscape in the back. I just know I sweat a lot, so if I can get a nice cool atmosphere for a baseball game, I'll take it.
Yeah.
You're A's guys. You said you grew up in the Bay Area.
A's,
So what do you think of the A's now going to Vegas? And
I'm against it. I'm back in the day with the Bash brothers, and I watched, Ricky Henderson go through that season of stolen bases. Like, we would just go to the game just to watch Ricky get on the base.
Oh, yeah.
Because Ricky's Ricky.
Yeah. And Ricky will tell you how good he is,
That's
too.
right. Ricky's Ricky.
Yeah. And so, it's funny, they were saying now with the new rules about throwing over, and you can only have so many times, Ricky Henderson would have 150 stolen bases.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way he was going, no matter what. But imagine if he knew you couldn't throw over. Forget it. He'd be on second and third before you knew it. A single or a walk to him was a triple back in the day, and it'd be the same way.
I mean, I can't watch the replay of Kirk coming up, with the Dodgers, and it still kills me. I mean, there's nobody like the Eck, to close out a game, and when that happened, it just
that's one of those times you like this. Somebody's got pixie dust on that bat and that guy for that one moment, and once that happened, it was like an avalanche. And sometimes that one play it turned that whole series.
Probably the best thing that happened in the Bay Area is when the series, the World Series, when both are in it. I remember trying to run home, and next thing I know, my car is like, during the big earthquake.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So
yeah, earthquakes. I have people tell different things. I don't know if I can have the ground shake underneath me to that magnitude. It's got to be very unsettling to be in that.
It's definitely different.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, one thing I will say though, if the A's go to Las Vegas, they better not change those uniforms, because that's
I love the A's.
When I remember I was a kid, in the early '70s with those great A's teams.
Right.
Man, it wasn't just watching a great team. What were they going to wear that game? Were they going to come out in all green or yellow with white or whatever it was? They just had the first time you saw where they were and the Pirates actually stole a little bit of that as time went on too, where they wore the gold with the different hat and the black and the white. So it was really cool to see. And the A's were always a team that sort of had that little bit of flash to them as far as their look and how they played. And yeah, I like to see them if they make the move, then just don't change what the team looks like.
And speaking of the Giants, local guy Dalton Guthrie just got traded to the Giants.
Okay,
from the Phillies just the other day.
So yeah, and like I said, he was in the big league. So I know he's probably will maintain unless they didn't option him back down. I didn't see the whole thing.
I don't know that. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, Dalton's a Gator. Last with Florida
last
when they
won the championship, right?
And it's fun to see Mike Rivera as a first base coach and a Venice guy, and he's first base coach for the Gators as well. So still representing with another one with Michael Robertson on the team right now.
Yep.
So with that, we'll take our second break of the night, come back here and talk a little bit about that College World Series that's going on. It's taken over the headlines the last couple of days. I mean, you had some golf, you had some NASCAR, had some things going on, but college baseball really has sort of taken the big wind and carried themselves to the top of the headlines. So with that, we'll come back here at Douglas Jeep for our last segment with the national segment and talk a little College World Series. See you back here shortly.
It's the Out of This World sales event at Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram, and we just launched the most stellar deals of the year. It's Jeep season, so blast off in the new Jeep Compass Limited from only $339 per month, or leave the world behind in the new Jeep Grand Cherokee from $429 per month. It's Ram season, so shoot for the stars in the new Ram 1500 Quad Cab from only $369 per month. Don't miss the Out of This World sales event going on now at Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice. Who has Out of This World savings? Douglas does!
Welcome back to the 941 Sports Zone here at Douglas Jeep, and we're ready to start our national conversation. And with that conversation, we're going to start with college baseball, College World Series, Florida Gators, LSU Tigers. As we speak right now, going into that game, the third game, the pivotal game for the national championship, and the big starter for LSU, Paul Skeens, did I get that right? Yeah, is not starting. But I think we were just talking in the break that we can't imagine him not getting a certain amount of time to pitch, because he's either going to go in there and hold the lead or get him through something, or keep them in a game before it gets to what it turned into the last game, which was a 24-4. I mean, just a drubbing and an absolute mastery, hitting mastery by the Gators. 6 home runs and just unbelievable what they did yesterday, and in regards to the scoring all those runs. I know you, John, saw that, and it's just hard to imagine you can score 24 runs, even though it is aluminum bats and wind blowing out.
It is a wild thing to see that many runs put up, and I think Caglione, who's starting tonight for Florida and had 2 home runs yesterday, is now I think one of the nation's leaders in home runs since they made the transition NCAA baseball did to the BB core bat.
Right.
So I think Florida explosive offensively. It is sad that Skeens didn't start tonight or isn't going to get to start. And I don't know where the transition was made in sports that your big time guy is going to not play in the biggest game. I mean, I would imagine. I mean, you think in other sports. I mean, if football's kind of transitioned to like where guys will sit out bowl games or sit out national championship games if they're going to be a top pick. But it's hard to fathom that you're the best. You're the top guy. You're the best pitcher on that staff. This is the pinnacle of college baseball. You're in Omaha, College World Series. Well, we got to protect him. He's going to be a top 3 pick. Well, LSU, you're not working right now for the Oakland A's or not working for the Arizona Diamondbacks. You're LSU. Like, worry about winning this. Skeens is 21, 22 years old. If that, he's going to be fine.
It's June 26th. He may not throw another baseball for the next 4 or 5 weeks. He's going to have time to, he's not going to pitch 8 days from now. He's done. This is it. And so that's what I said. I'm surprised. The only thing I could think of as well, maybe he wouldn't be as effective. Maybe they're worried that 98-mile-an-hour fastball might be only 92.
Right.
Now it's not as, maybe the movement's not as much. So maybe they're looking at it and saying, okay, we'll get him warmed up. We'll see where he's at, where everything looks, rather than going all in early and getting behind. Maybe we'll go with a more steady guy and we're good to go from there.
I'm just kind of watching this. It looks like the Gators have already stroked a homer in the first inning here.
So there we go, a live update here, or somewhat live update since you're watching this on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whenever you're watching this. So no doubt about that. So Michael Robertson, we'll go back to what we said earlier about him. Great catch for him. Really went back on that ball. I love the attitude about it. Michael's like, hey, if I had to go through the wall, I was going to catch that ball. And that's sort of like you said, the win at all costs mentality your program has, right? I mean, if the ball I have to hit it with my face to get it back over, I'm sure that you want to win. Do what you got to do to win at any cost, and that's a big deal. And I think I do like the fact that these two teams have played a lot. They are obviously SEC rivals. LSU has a storied program, and we mentioned Craig Faulkner earlier. Craig Faulkner, Mark Guthrie, two good friends of mine. Graduated high school with those guys, who really were at the very, very front end of LSU baseball where they are today. I mean, they were the first class of guys that came in with Skip Bertman back in the 80s, and 2 walk-ons from Venice, and they were the 2 walk-ons that made it and became very successful in all different levels and different parts of baseball.
Yeah, Greg's built a lot of his program off of how Skip taught him to coach. So that's why we get a lot of small ball at Venice.
We were laughing when there was Wake Forest and LSU, and there was a squeeze play, and LSU first base made a great play.
Yep.
But it was no coincidence that the kid who was bunting was a Venice kid, Merrick Houston. That's right. They all know how to bunt. The fourth guy, everybody bunts on that team, and Craig is always forcing the action. And that was a play where I'm sure that they were very comfortable with Merrick making a bunt, because if he doesn't make the bunt, that guy's out at the plate. I mean, it's a dead deal. And if you make the bunt, which he did, that kid had to make the play of his life at that point to get the out. So,
well, and that's the roots of baseball, is small ball. I mean, not everything used to be launch angle and trying to home run or striking out every other at bat. It's making those small plays, those like ingenuitive kind of plays where you can get a run here and there. You can get on base and you can figure it out. Guys like Robertson aren't going to go out there and throw up crazy numbers on a stat sheet, but that coach knows that I need him on the base path in the late innings, and I need him in the field to make defensive plays like he did. And that just goes to show that you're not always going to be a superstar player, but not every superstar wins a title. If you're going out there like Robertson, making big plays, stealing bags, making diving catches, you're just as much a winner as the guy that is hitting those home runs. Like, you're still competing at a high level, and it's something to see that he's got that success going from Venice to there, and hopefully they win. So,
and both these teams they're not 8 guys and a pitcher. They go 14, 15, 16 deep. They're interchanging players. They're sending guys up to pinch hit and pinch run. They can go to bullpens where they got 3 guys in the bullpen. So it's pretty neat to see that this is not just like a one-note scenario. These teams are deep, and all these kids are contributing, which is a really cool thing to see, especially at that high level. All right, so we got that in the bag, and I have one question I want to ask you guys. I know it's sort of maybe a little bit out there, but NBA draft just came up, and I'm not a big NBA draft guy. I think it's kind of there's not a lot of guys that, the names you don't recognize because they're coming from the G League, which I don't see a lot of, or from overseas or whatever it may be. Some of these one and done guys, but Victor Wembanyama. Okay, so he is the guy that they're saying is the best prospect since LeBron James. First question I'll ask both of you guys, and I'll start with Brian and then go to John. Is it fair to put that kind of label, no matter what is physical, 7'5" and wingspans, to say you're the next LeBron when, is it fair to say that? Or, what do you think about putting that label on a kid?
Well, I think the biggest difference between those two players that you just mentioned was LeBron played high school. This kid, didn't he go to the pros
at 16,
at 15 or 16? Like I watched a cool thing on him, and so he's kind of been in the fire for a little while. So, I mean, gosh, he's first person picked. I mean,
yeah, you're always going to have that little bit. But they really laid it on him. What about you, John? You feel?
I mean, I guess the hype is there for him to be something that LeBron can be, but I mean, physically, they're not the same athlete at all.
No.
I mean, LeBron's 6'8", 6'9", built like a tank. Wembanyama's 7'5", lanky, hopefully puts on some more weight and kind of get to a strength level where he can play. I mean, obviously that frame's not going to change because 7'5", to put a lot of weight on it, would change his health, period, to put a lot of weight on. So he could develop like a Kevin Durant body, just kind of get more physical, a little bit stronger. But, yeah, from a physical standpoint, they're not the same. But the hype that he comes over from France with is a different story. Like 7'5", back in the day, it was like, oh, he's staying on the block. He's never leaving the block. He's going to bully people. This guy can run point for any offense in the NBA right now. It's just a development of the game. Like when I played, I was in Kentucky. We played a lot of smaller ball, so I was the big on the block. But I never developed any guard skills. This guy's been learning how to handle an offense from the time he picked up a ball, and he just so happened to turn out to be a 7'5". They kept calling him, and he's an alien. Like he's indifferent to anybody that's ever been in the game. I mean, you can maybe relate him to Porzingis from a few years ago, but he's never really panned out to what people thought he would be. I heard Jay Billis mention him that he is what Ralph Sampson was during his time. And Sampson obviously maybe didn't have the ball handling ability that Wembanyama has, but just the freak of nature that he is in terms of how athletic he is at that frame. So I think the hype that he can be a superstar is there, but you can't compare apples to oranges in terms of a freak athlete that LeBron is to the freak athlete, because two different types of freaks.
Yeah.
Right. I will say this: I as far as who got him, San Antonio Spurs. I mean, they've dealt with big men before. He had a very athletic David Robinson, and then of course Tim Duncan, who was the big fundamental. He was all about shooting and passing, and he could be on the block, and he was 27 and 14 every night, whatever he needed to do, and a total team player as well. So that's a great landing spot for him. You're right, though. The thing that's going to be interesting to see is that the ball skills that he has as a 7'5" guy, they don't relate to the Joker. Joker has different. He has ball skills, but he's more facilitator. But as he brings the ball up court, he plays a bit of point as well. At 7'5", do you want him to be playing out? I mean, I guess if his game's, or do you want that guy to be, especially on the defensive side, you didn't want him to be a small forward covering a guy on the outside where he can make a difference on the inside. What do you think about that, Brian?
Just the video I've seen, I think the teams were feeding him big shots, at the end. I mean, he's comes in, hard into the paint. He shoots it from the arc. I just think they're going to use him however it needs to be used. I mean, that at the end of the day, that's how he's going to be used. But
and I think Popovich will figure it out. If anybody's going to, I think Coach Pop will. And then I think he already has Wembanyama familiarity with the team. I remember they showed him in pictures in a Spurs jersey when he was a kid. I mean, you had Tony Parker was on the Spurs.
Absolutely.
Boris Diaw was there for the championship teams from France. Jeremy Sochan's there now, a draft pick from Baylor. He's from France. So I think they're going to figure it out with him simulating to United States that brand of basketball, because I would assume it's just a tad different than how it's played in France. And his build, 7'5", when he's on the perimeter, he only needs one or two dribbles to get to the lane. So the variance of what a three-point shot is to what a mid-range shot is to what being underneath is for him, it all looks – I've never been in a 7'5" frame with that length, but I would assume physically it's probably a lot similar, because one or two dribbles is different from being a 3 to underneath the basket for him.
When you used to watch Ralph Sampson play when he played for the Rockets, you could see he would get in the paint and he could just go around people and he had like these long arms and he finger roll a ball in there, or he can do whatever. And he was a guy who was not afraid to bang a little bit on the inside too. But his game was a mid-range jumper. His game was sort of a little finessey. Because he had Elijah to work off of on the other side. So he had that going for him. But, yeah, I could see that being the case. I will tell you this. I would imagine that Popovich, too, will limit his minutes as well. I don't think he's going to put him out there and say, go give me 48. I think he's going to say, give me 25 to 30 and get him more assimilated and things and let him find his way around. And his game will change at some point in time. But he's got a lot to offer. But it's going to be very interesting to watch because – it is that size that you're going to be sort of, as a basketball player fan, you're going to watch and go like, wow, look at this. He's one step, he's just dropping the ball in the basket kind of guy. So,
and figuring out the minutes will be this is going to be a perfect couple of years for him, because I don't think anybody, even with them drafting him, nobody's expecting the Spurs to go win a title next year. I don't think so. No. I think he'll figure it out. And like I said, Popovich is the perfect guy to be under for that. And he's going to be a monster. Look, whether it's running point, I think he's going to be a stat stuffer, and he's going to, once he fills out a little bit, like I said, builds more of a Kevin Durant type stature. I mean, obviously try to keep away from, the lower extremities on guys that big, like the feet and the knees is always going to be a problem. But from what I've also heard too, he's taken those strides since being even younger than what he is now, taking care of his health, taking care of his body. So I think he'll figure it out.
I think you're right. I think if going from the initial thing I said, he is doing the right stuff though. He's played pro ball. He is taking care of himself. He's done all the things you could watch. He sees the maturity. They even said, I heard a little quip this morning that they said he knew he was getting interviewed by Robin Roberts from Good Morning America, and that he did research on how she asked questions, so that he could actually be prepared for what. And one of the questions she asked him was I guess a traditional Rob, because she knows sports, so he knew that she came from ESPN, and she asked a question and he answered it very well and gave her a little back to her, and they made it. And he said, you heard the little snippet. He's like, he's that well rounded at this point, or from a mental perspective, he's smart. He's a smart guy, so he'll figure it out. All right, with that, we'll take one quick final break and come back with what's bugging me. Now, Brian, you can, whatever's bugging you in sports or the world or whatever it may be, I'm gonna tell you, mine's not a sports take this time. It's a little something different. But what's bugging me, and then any prediction you want to make. You want to predict the Auburn Tigers winning a national championship in football? I don't know. Anything like that? You got any prediction you want to make? And then I archive it, just like we did for the Peacock brothers when they made their diving catch deal. And I know that I might have something that might be coming out soon from what I got something right or wrong or whatever it may be. So yeah. So what's bugging me and a prediction for you next? And John really probably has something.
I'm ready to go.
He's ready to go. With that, we'll be back for our final segment here at Douglas Jeep and the 941 Sports Zone. See you here shortly.
It's the Out of This World sales event at Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram, and we just launched the most stellar deals of the year. It's Jeep season, so blast off in the new Jeep Compass Limited from only $339 per month, or leave the world behind in the new Jeep Grand Cherokee from $429 per month. It's Ram season, so shoot for the stars in the new Ram 1500 Quad Cab from only $369 per month. Don't miss the Out of This World sales event going on now at Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice. Who has Out of This World savings? Douglas does!
Back to the 941 Sports Zone, and John, I'm going to get right into it. Our What's Bugging Me section, soon to be officially sponsored by Truly Nolan, which will be a very cool deal when we get it all said and done. And so we'll have a pest control in our Bugging Me section. So how that works, that was so
pretty cool.
Very symbiotic. There we go. We're good with that. So what's bugging you tonight, John Reynolds?
So what's bugging me is the affinity that people have when these kids change schools in high school. I don't understand why people make such a big deal of it. These kids are moving schools not because it's making you happy, because they want to win. They want to go somewhere where their talents will be on the best place they can win. And I get people, like when I report stuff that so-and-so is transferred to this school, why are you even reporting on that? That's not even news. It's so bad to do this. It makes the school look bad because he's leaving. I'm like, this kid wants to win. He's not playing for you.
Right.
If the parent is cool with him going, if he's cool with going, if it's going to further him to play somewhere collegiately, if it's going to help him win, help him succeed, help him become a better person or her become a better person, why does it bother you? Like, I understand you have a love for your school and a passion for the team you love, but like, if he's doing it for the best for himself or the best for herself, why does it bother you? So I don't understand why people just think it's such a negative for kids to transfer if it's going to help them.
My argument to let you know would always be like, well, what if they were a spectacular math student and there was an opportunity for them to advance themselves as a mathematician? Would you then say, why are they moving? What's the wrong with that? Or the best saxophonist in the area goes to Booker because it's a art school. I mean, there's things that go along with this stuff that it's because it's how sports are a glaring reflection of what people,
And people may take it to as such a surface level thing, like, oh, he's going to that program because he wants to win, or he's whatever. But like, there may be something much deeper. Like, he has to go there because of family situation or a personal issue, or there's just a tie to that school that he wants to be there and extend, whatever.
Right.
So I think people, if I don't know, it's fine with them, it should be fine with you. Like, if they're helping himself, there's going to be another crop of talent come through that's going to be good at whatever school. So I think if it's benefiting that person, if they're thinking already mature enough to be like, this is going to help me for my next step, by all means. Like, I don't see why it's a problem.
Right. All right. What's bugging you, Brian Wheatley?
So I've been thinking about this. I teach with Coach Peacock for the last 20 plus years.
Oh, long time, yes.
So we have to be in the same office together, and we jab each other all the time.
Yes, you do.
But I'll tell you something that really bugs me.
Okay.
Around May time, spring ball comes in, and all these college coaches come through. And all of a sudden, I'm team teaching with Coach Peacock. He says he's got to go to the bathroom. He doesn't show back up to class. And now I've got to watch all his kids plus mine too.
Right.
And so that kind of bugs me a little bit.
But he's talking to Nick Saban or
whoever it is, and he knows when. The only person that I want to be in there with is one person, that's whoever the coach is of the Auburn Tigers.
Right.
Everybody else,
forget it.
Doesn't matter to me. But I usually end up talking to him anyways.
Right.
But John just happens to, go to the bathroom at certain times, and
maybe it's just the springtime. Maybe it's just he needs to go more or something. Who knows?
I don't know, but I feel like it's during spring training.
Yeah, I understand.
Those coaches are coming through.
I understand that.
So
all right,
that's kind of bugging me a little bit.
Gotcha. Here's what's bugging me: the 8-day forecast. Okay, we just went through the snapper, slapper, and everything else, and I hear phone calls and what do you think? I'm like, you watch the news, right? And you'll see it'll be jacked out, and it'll say next Tuesday it's going to be this, and this. They don't know in this state of Florida. 30 minutes from now, something can change. And so for me, it not only does it bug me because we just went through the fishing tournament, but it bugs me because I work outside. And there's stuff that I'm trying to figure out. So for like, not even the 8-day forecast, give me the 4-day forecast. Tell me what's going to be like Friday or
They don't know.
Can't predict it because I understand it. I know the summertime is volatile, but it's a lot of what goes on. I wish they would say a little bit more and say, here's what we know, or here's what we think it is. We know the next 2 days within a certain percentage. The next 6, you want to look at it, you want to figure it out based on what we think may or may not happen. But the 8-day forecast drives me crazy because I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, and it never seems to work out that way. 2 days later, it's all switched around. So I appreciate the 8-day forecast, but let's try to make it so we can at least be real about it and say it's really just a 2-day forecast, and the rest is up to you.
And I've learned since coming here too, you could even predict it to the closest time that you're wanting to do something. It'd still be wrong.
Right.
I have family coming down this week. I want to mow my yard. I mow my yard. Looks nice, perfect. Everything's edged the way I want it to be. Thunderstorm comes, and I'm like, I just mowed. Like, I got to mow again before they come. So it's just like, and before I went out there was no rain coming. By the time I get done, there's 75% chance it's going to thunderstorm tonight. And I'm like, that's great.
And that's what when you got a company coming in, right? You're like, I want to show them a good, and you don't know how or what. Did you get it?
No, it's on his headset now.
It's all over the place. I think there's 2 of them.
I'm telling you,
now.
There's been a couple times.
Peacock hired that fly, is what he did, just to bug him. I'm telling you.
Brought to you by Truly Nolan.
There you go. So, all right, to you for a prediction.
So I'm going to go, I doubt Coach is going to predict anything for their own team. So I'm going to say that he's going to win his 7th state title this year. And I'm also going to go, I watched a lot of her last year, is it Summer Kohler? Is that her name?
Summer.
I think she's going to be the player of the year in Florida.
Wow.
There you go.
Calling it. Go big or go home. And she's a
Kid,
great
yeah,
player, and
yeah.
I think she's got a lot of talent, and I think she's going to be the player of the year.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for her. She's a great kid.
Anything for you?
I could get. There's several times I could get it, but I don't want to just like smack him. You know.
Just do it. Smack it.
The big, yeah, right. That thing is really loving you now.
You sure it's not your hair gel?
Well, we didn't talk about that.
All right, so my prediction is I'm an Auburn grad. You know, you can't tell Auburn people a lot, but you can tell who they are. So I'm going to say Hugh Freeze goes down as the newcomer coach of the year this year.
Okay. Rookie coach of the year is what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm not saying that we're going to do great. I mean, I'm predicting I'm going to be real happy with an 8-4 season. But I think he's done a great job recruiting. He's brought in our whole lineup, our whole offensive, every single person on our offense is different than last year, which we need. So I'm excited that he's in on the Plains.
I'll tell you what, this is going to be a very interesting year. Looking what you just brought up for SEC football, and I'm going to make a prediction based on your prediction So I'm going to tell you.
It has nothing to do with Nick Saban, though.
No,
right?
no, no.
Okay,
No. Well, a little bit. I'm going to tell you this, that Alabama and Georgia are not going to make it to the Final Four this year in football. Neither team is going to make it. I think a lot has to do always with these teams is quarterbacking. He's making a prediction next. The quarterbacking is a lot in the SEC. And bringing anybody in new, whoever that new person may be, is a mighty task to go ahead and win. I think that while they will be very good football teams this year, I think they're going to be I think that they're going to be beatable. I think Nick Saban, in particular, has had a very sort of like a bad spirit about him in regards to the NIL. I think he's very anti it. I think he doesn't like the fact that Texas A&M can get the guy I can get, because they can offer him whatever money, NIL money. So I think he's a little bit bitter about some things. But I think I'm saying no Alabama and no Georgia at all to make it. An SEC team will make it, but it won't be either one of those two teams.
Who will that SEC team be?
So I'm going to tell you, it's going to come out of the West. Okay, someone out of the West is going to do something.
This is the last year of the West.
Yes, but it'll somebody be out there. I can't tell you. Because I could probably tell you that I think it could be two teams that I like out of the West. I like Texas A&M. There's something about Jimbo Fisher, and I'm not a big fan. He's a Florida State guy. I'm a Florida guy. And LSU with Brian Kelly. I know there's some stuff there, but I think that they have there was something at the end of the year with LSU that I saw that they were kind of getting something. And I just don't know. If I feel strongly that Alabama is gonna not be where they now they're probably ranked number 1. Don't be wrong, but I don't think either team will be in the Final Four this year. So
not Tennessee, huh? I feel like they caught some fire.
Well,
last year.
If I'm going to predict any team out of East Southern Georgia, it's Tennessee. Yeah,
LSU
Tennessee.
may have a chip on their shoulder too. Just got stripped of a few wins. So
no, I mean that's what I'm saying. I just like I said, it's sometimes you say to yourself, well, why they've been going back and forth, taking turns, and again, but they both lost quarterbacks, and to me it's a very hard thing to kind of just plug and play to put somebody in there and just go ahead and win it and get to that next level. So I don't think either team will make it. I think it'll be somebody else out of the SEC in the Final Four.
Nice.
All right, with that wraps up another edition of the 941 Sports Zone. Thank you very much, Brian Wheatley.
Appreciate you having me. It's really cool.
Oh, we're gonna have you back again. If we can
privilege.
maybe snatch you one time during the season, we might do that as well.
Awesome, yeah.
Catch you out in the middle, maybe before the bash at the beach, the little promotion for that. If we can get you in that for that time.
Maybe you can do this at the gym one night.
Well, you never know, man. You never know. See, he's got it. He likes it. And John Reynolds, thank you again for coming in. We appreciate you.
No problem.
And hopefully, like I said, we'll be doing a lot more stuff, and we'll keep going with this thing. And we appreciate your input for everything you've done so far.
Glad to be here.
And with that, we thank you guys for watching us again. I'm John Massoni. Thanks for watching 941 Sports Zone. We'll see you back here next week.